Hello, my name is Kainat, and this is my final presentation for this class. The instructions for this project asked for an explorative analysis of an advocacy organization that's attempting to change the carceral state in some capacity. Somehow, I ended up researching CoreCivic, the world's largest private prison company operating behind a fallacious image of bettering the public good. While I acknowledge my evident deviation from the prompt, I believe the reason for my deviation actually adds to the importance of delving deeper into CoreCivic. Let's pretend you're me, surfing the internet looking for potential groups to study. When I scratched the surface of CoreCivic as an organization, I was eager to see several advocacy-adjacent buzzwords dominating their public image. From their direct website, they offer the following bullet points describing what they do. Quote, "We provide evidence-based programs like education, vocational, substance abuse, and faith-based offerings that help inmates develop the skills and values they need to be successful when they leave prison. We donate more than $2 million to charities annually, including many that reduce recidivism and help returning citizens successfully reintegrate into the community. We actively support a range of re-entry-friendly policies, like Ban the Box, and have sent nearly 3,000 letters of support to legislators." Using my personal perception of the aforementioned information, as well as several other studies I explored, I'm putting forward the following argument. CoreCivic advertises itself as a nonprofit organization via strategic word choice and the general omission of its actual role. The self-expressed impression is the following, that the group prioritizes reentry and the mental rehabilitation of inmates, who they even openly classify as citizens, which is rare to see. We have discussed in this course how those jailed by the carceral state are routinely stripped of their dignity as Americans and isolated by those with power. CoreCivic claims to prioritize reintegration into communities, which in theory directly combats this far too common societal exclusion. All this considered, once my research began to explore beyond the organization's self-depiction, claims of advocacy and public betterment became increasingly difficult to credit. CoreCivic used to be referred to as something with a vastly different ring. In 2016, the group changed their name from the formerly used Corrections Corporation of America. While advocacy efforts and change-initiating practices are a noteworthy part of the organization's activities, its primary role is as a major corporation funding private prisons across the nation. The group not only participates in the incarceration of prisoners, but also actively operates detention facilities for the caging of undocumented immigrants. In total, CoreCivic has an operating capacity of roughly 80,000 beds spanning 70 facilities. This makes it the largest private prison system in the world and the largest private owner of real estate used by the American government. As of annual statistics pertaining to 2021, CoreCivic collected almost $2 billion in revenue and $96 million in state taxpayer funds. Although it aims to present itself as such, CoreCivic is not a humanitarian-focused organization. It is a for-profit corporation whose claims of reentry prioritization directly contradict their profit incentive. CoreCivic is directly dependent on the carceral state's systematic upholding of mass incarceration. So, how is CoreCivic attempting to change the carceral state? It does so via collaborating with Republican politicians, who, as we have discussed in class, generally express an overt desire to strengthen measures of punitiveness, working with the government, and transforming the carceral state into a network of businesses. Going back to Module 1, the Howard reading references the formation of a culture of fear through the 1990s, when there was an actual increase in crime across the nation. Created only in the decade prior, CoreCivic emerged at a perfect time to secure profit. Combined with the culture of fear surrounding criminality and the prevalence of the war on drugs sentiment within policing, private prisons offered excellent resources to the government, who was seeking to crack down on crime. Since the 90s, though, crime rates have been declining, almost half of what they were. However, organizations with immense power, such as CoreCivic, continue to support politicians who believe in the continuing of disproportionate incarceration. CoreCivic has heavily donated to Trump's campaigns. 60% of CoreCivic-backed politicians believe in stricter measures of punitiveness as a method to reduce crime. 87% oppose the idea of providing citizenship pathways for undocumented migrants and propose detaining and criminalizing them instead. So here's my argument. We know crime is proportionately decreasing, and society does not benefit from believing that it's not. Which begs the question, why are politicians framing it as if there is still an abundance of crime to reduce via cages and violence? Somebody must benefit from it, if not society. The only beneficiary will be actors profiting from society believing crime is high, which justifies mass incarceration. CoreCivic perfectly fits the description of such an actor. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is that CoreCivic is changing the carceral state via a maintenance of the carceral system and mass incarceration, backing accordingly associated politicians that further their corporate agenda. Just kind of as an anecdote, CoreCivic has privately lobbied for increased bed quotas, contributing to mass incarceration. It should be more peace, yet somehow it's more prisoners and more profit. In class, we discussed the increasing militarization of the carceral state via increasingly violent police activity, turning to do not resist for visual examples. While abstract, a course connection can clearly be made when examining CoreCivic. During my research, I stumbled across Shane Bauer, a journalist who went undercover as a correctional officer in a CoreCivic prison in Louisiana. His experiences detail a shocking usage of violence against those deemed criminals by the carceral state, with one officer even saying, quote, "If an inmate hits me, I'm going to hit his ass right back. I don't care if my body camera is rolling. If an inmate spits on me, he's going to have a very bad day," end quote. CoreCivic's major social selling point is re-entry success stories. However, this violence experienced by inmates has actually been shown to exacerbate problems faced by ex-convicts attempting to re-enter society. Violence follows them out of their cages and ends up getting them locked up again. Also, CoreCivic charges its prisoners for re-entry programs that were previously provided by nonprofits for free. CoreCivic pays its inmates wages beyond unlivable, contributing to the financial hardship we discussed in class. This course has revealed to me this reality. Inmates coming from low-income communities of color are unable to support their financially struggling families on the outside, contributing to the continuation of systematic poverty experienced by those who interact with the criminal justice system. CoreCivic contributes to the institutional, undoubtedly racist, system of mass incarceration. So now, thus far, I have illustrated CoreCivic as an organization, both its outward facade as a re-entry advocacy organization and its inner workings as a Republican-backed upholder of mass incarceration. I strove to offer insight into course connections that helped me implement what I learned in the classroom to my research. This last part covers what I found new and inconsistent with class materials and gives a few of my thoughts regarding whether I would support CoreCivic or not. My previous impression was largely that mass incarceration is a governmental goal, that the carceral state exists as an institutionally backed system. What I did not realize is that it is also a financially backed system, with the opportunity for not only profiting from existing incarceration, but profiting from the creation of more mass incarceration. Rather, not profit as a result of jail, but jail as a vehicle for profit. The carceral state is clearly not just government funded, as prison has become an industry, just like most things in America. In healthcare, the goal is no longer treating patients, it is profit. In the criminal justice system, the goal is no longer reducing crime, it's feeding a fear of crime, arresting more, detaining longer, and making profit. This takeaway is not necessarily inconsistent with class materials, rather, it was just something I had to explore on my own. While CoreCivic's initial contributions have merit, and I would support measures to increase the prominence of banning the box and providing re-entry resources, these few offerings are just clearly not the corporation's priority. Not to hammer the point, but CoreCivic impersonates caring for those who have become involved in the criminal justice system, whether that be by their own fault or as a result of racist policing. Their real actions as a financial powerhouse of imprisonment do not speak to me personally in the slightest. So, for these reasons, I would not support CoreCivic. Thank you for this roller coaster of a project. While I was misled thinking CoreCivic was an advocacy organization, choosing to take the risk and researching them further has augmented my pre-existing course-provided knowledge in a way that seriously makes me passionate about further studying the carceral state. Thank you so much.